What is up? It's time to discuss the biggest narrative shifts for every single individual fighter that fought on UFC 300. As every content creator is doing their fights to make video, I figured, again, this is the series that I want to run with for every single big pay-per-view. I want to talk about the narrative shifts in the sense that we're going to rate these guys properly. If we had any misconceptions about them going into the weekend, we got to sort those ones out. And I guess let's just get into this. Maybe I'll do a couple of fights to make throughout this video anyway, but without further ado, let's start from the first fight, which is Deiveson Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt. What was the narrative shift here? How are we going to start looking at these guys? Are we going to look at them differently? For Cody Garbrandt, for me, I'm not looking at him differently, but for those of you that were saying Cody has all the skills, if only he can put it together and just fight really smart, I think the ship has sailed. I don't think Cody Garbrandt has the skills, all right? It's not just a coincidence that every single time he's fought someone elite, he's lost. Outside of Dominic Cruz, when the stars aligned, the Rafael Assunção fight, that doesn't count. Not because it wasn't a good win, but that's not someone I consider elite. At least he was elite, not when he fought Garbrandt, though. He wasn't elite when he fought Garbrandt. He was kind of an old head. So for Garbrandt, I think you got to stop talking about him as someone that, if only he could just put it all together. He doesn't have it. Simple. He doesn't have it. He's got big hooks, he's got speed, and he's got big leg kicks, and that's kind of it. There was kind of a misconception about his wrestling, too, just because we've seen some blast double legs from Cody. I believe he wrestled more before he came into the UFC, and that was kind of his thing before he started knocking people out. But either way, look at what Deiveson Figueiredo did to him. Sunned him, took him down. I was surprised that Figueiredo even took this man down, because I kind of looked at Cody Garbrandt as a bit of a brick wall, right? He's powerful, he's fast twitch, he's going to be able to shuck off Deiveson. Not at all. He actually got steamrolled in the grappling. Deiveson took him down when he really imposed his will and tried. So for Cody, he's not elite, all right? And that star aligning moment is looking more than ever like a star aligning moment that he had against Dominic Cruz, against the right pillow-handed opponent. Not trying to be hard on him. It's just the truth. It's just the truth, okay? Doesn't have a deep tool bag. Deiveson Figueiredo, any narrative shift? Well, he certainly isn't washed. Certainly ain't washed. I think he answered that against Rob Font. And this championship flyweight skill is just too much for the bantamweights. It's too much for at least the, 15 through 20 bantamweights. I know Rob Font is a top 15 guy, but you get my point. I think Deiveson Figueiredo is as elite as it gets. I think he can hang in there with anyone in the top 10 for the most part, right? I think he could have a competitive fight with most of these guys. The top 5 at bantamweight is a bit of a shark tank, but outside of it, I think Figueiredo is a real test to any of these guys. He's tough. His speed looked a little bit off, but that flyweight grappling skill, man, he took down Font a few times, out-grappled Cody Garbrandt, just cut through him like butter. Another thing that I want to talk about is sometimes we look at these guys like Garbrandt, for example, or Cater. I think there was someone else that I had on my mind where we start saying things like, man, he has amazing takedown defense. But it turns out that actually they haven't fought any like heavy pressure grapplers that shoot a ton of takedowns. And when they do, they can't necessarily prove the takedown defense. They can prove it when they have a striker in front of them that mixes it up maybe 3 times in the course of 5 rounds. But that's another bit of a narrative shift that I'm going to start thinking of, that guys with takedown defense against only strikers for the most part can't really be considered to be brick walls anymore. All right. But Deiveson Figueiredo, an elite grappler in the 135-pound division, in my opinion. Against most of these strikers, I actually think that he can mix it up and beat them. So really good performance for Deiveson. Totally not washed. Speed looked a little off, and Cody Garbrandt just proving once again that he was never that guy. He was never that good. Bobby Green and Jim Miller. Okay, well, if there was any doubt about Bobby Green's chin being totally done, that was bullshit, okay? I thought that there was a good chance Jim Miller was going to KO him, and he got close. He rocked him a few times, but to be fair, Bobby Green always gets rocked in his fights. That's nothing new. He got hurt by Tony Ferguson. I believe he got hurt. Well, he obviously got hurt against Drew Dober, but Green has been like flash knocked down in a ton of his bouts before he got brutally finished by Dober and Turner. It was just a normal Bobby Green showing. Masterclass. Still that old head that's able to maintain that speed, and that is a vicious thing for someone that's always been fast like Bobby. For him to still be fast and craftier than ever with all the experience that he has, he's still a problem. Still one of the best strikers in the lightweight division. Yeah, I don't think he can get through the elite guys, but outside of the rankings, I think he still cleans up shop. And for Jim Miller, I guess he is not as good as we thought, right? I saw some meme pages saying things like Miller's still elite. And there was a meme that said Hernandez, he beats the elite but loses to the mediocre. And Jim Miller was grouped in as one of the elite guys, right? I don't think he is. And I don't think anyone really thought he was elite, to be fair. But there was this idea that Jim Miller could honestly work his way up and maybe, just maybe, become ranked. That got shut down, all right? There's a big difference between the Apex legends, the guys that are just coming into the UFC that have the octagon jitters, and gritty old crafty old Bobby Green, who is gritty, who is crafty, who is fast. Miller's craft is just not enough. He's got some thud, he's got some power, he's got a submission game, but he doesn't have what it takes to hang in there with guys that are close to the rankings. That is the narrative shift. If you thought he had it, you don't have it. Jessica Andrade and Marina Rodriguez. Narrative shift? No. Let's get on to it. Jalen Turner, Renato Moicano. Yeah, so people were telling me that Jalen Turner was the Tin Man, meaning he has no heart. That's true now, because I was saying it's too early to say that just after he wilted a little bit to Dan Hooker. No, he just rolled over and quit in this fight. Just a total lack of heart. Wasn't trying to fight out of that position, just rolled over like Vicente. Didn't even get hit with anything flush on the ground. And a horrible fight IQ, which is clear now. Terrible fight IQ for Jalen Turner, trying to have this walk-off KO moment. What are you doing? I know he had Mark Goddard in there, and maybe he was convinced this is the early stoppage guy. I may as well. But Mark Goddard, I think he's been watching our criticisms, all right? I think he's taken note of the fans' frustration with him, stopping all these fights early, and he's getting better with it. Renato Moicano, great grappling, better than Mateusz Gamrot, if there was any doubt. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I think he is better than Mateusz Gamrot. He's a better striker, and he's got good cardio. He's got great takedowns. Still a dog, man. So it's not like anything has really changed for Renato, to be honest, but a really good win. On to the next one, Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopez. Sodiq Yusuff, I think, was, once again, shut down right before he kind of got into that elite category. Diego Lopez was fighting to get into that elite category, and he got in there. The narrative shift for Diego Lopez is that he is officially the guy that could give everyone issues, and he could be the guy that knocks out Ilia Topuria in the future. I know people are saying Max. Maybe it's Max, but Diego Lopez is the Oliveira at 145. He is the prime Oliveira reincarnate in the featherweight division. Massive for the weight class, very long reach, incredible jiu-jitsu, knockout power. He's a marauder, right? Has that style. He has the aura. All we need him to do is talk 100 miles per hour on the mic and raise his voice a little bit and maybe cry on fight week to Brazilian gospel music. And if he does that, he has what it takes to become a champion. But either way, yeah, Diego Lopez is now looking like he beats everyone in that featherweight class. Outside of Max, I don't think he would beat Max. Outside of maybe Topuria, I think he KOs Volk. What's Volk going to do? Take him down for 5 rounds? I don't think so. What's he going to do? Just pitter-pat around with Diego for 5? Maybe Diego's gas tank is still in question. Fair enough. But I think if Diego lands an uppercut on Volk, which he could, with the long reach that he has and the marauder style, after coming off of a couple of KO losses, that's looking like a problem. Any other person in this division, I think, gets smoked. Bryce Mitchell, big meaty hooks. That's the matchup I want to see, by the way. I want to see Diego Lopez take on Josh Emmett, and I think he KOs him too. All right? So Diego Lopez looking like a future champ. No doubt in my mind. This was the thing that fully legitimized him as the real deal, a guy that's 100% going to be fighting for belts in the future, and he's going to be fighting for them quite a lot. And another solid prospect in the featherweight division. Featherweight, to be fair, it was getting a little bit stale. It was just Max and Volk, and that was it. Now we got Arnold Allen, we got Diego Lopez, we have Ilia Topuria, we have a ton of guys on the come up like Yusuf Zalal. Featherweight is looking like it's popping again, and I'm really happy about that. So let's get on to the next one. Holly Holm and Kayla Harrison. It's clear that Kayla Harrison ain't going to be boring, right? I thought there was a chance she would stink it up in half guard for the full fight. She's entertaining. She's on the sauce, enough of it to make it entertaining, okay? Holly Holm didn't really show us anything else. She went into the clinch, and of course, you don't do that with a judoka Olympic gold medalist. But for Kayla Harrison, I think she's looking like a champ, all right? Some people may have thought, she's beating bums in the PFL. She's probably not going to do that well in the UFC. Who's at the top of her weight class that's going to give her a problem? Juliana Pena? I don't think anyone's stopping this woman. No one's stopping her. She's too big. She's on sauce. She's too powerful. Amanda Nunes is the only one. That's the narrative shift. Now it's like a lock. She's going to become a champion. Anyway, Calvin Kattar, Aljamain Sterling. Aljo brought that bantamweight skill up to 145 pounds, and as I talked about earlier, these guys with brick wall takedown defense that are just proving it when they're stuffing like 4 takedowns in a 5-round fight against a striker, we got to chill with that, right? Including me. Because that's kind of why I picked Calvin Kattar. Also, Kattar just didn't let his hands go, all right? Did not let his hands go. The speed of Aljamain Sterling looked phenomenal. His chin looked good, but did it really? Did Calvin Kattar even fucking throw a punch? To be honest, he threw like a couple of lazy jabs. A lot of these guys were out here going flimsy mode with their shitty lazy jabs and their shitty lazy teeps. But either way, the bantamweight skill for Aljamain Sterling was shown off to the full effect in this new weight class. He wasn't a guy that could land takedowns at a high clip at 135, but hey, against these 45ers, I think he's going to be able to land them at a high clip. So he's going to have a skill advantage, a speed advantage, a grappling advantage over a lot of these guys. To be fair, he didn't come close to a finish, though. That is a narrative shift, too. It's a negative one for Aljo. People talk about Aljo as if he's like one of the most dangerous submission experts in the world. No, I don't think he is. Okay? Even though Calvin Kattar got taken down a bunch, Aljo couldn't hurt him. He couldn't tee off on him like he did to Jan back in the day. He couldn't get close to a submission. I used to rate Aljo as like a top 3 grappler in the entire sport, but I don't think I can anymore. Just because he's not that dangerous. I'm sorry. He's not a dangerous man. He's a decision merchant. When he was fighting Jan and Cejudo, you could make the argument that Jan and Cejudo's takedown defense is just so good. Of course he's not going to finish them. Of course he's not going to be able to get them out of there. All right, well, it's been a minute. He couldn't do it to Calvin Kattar. That's a guy that, although he had so-called brick wall takedown defense, which he doesn't, against these high-level, high-pressure grapplers, he was not a guy that was thought of as being good on the ground. No one's really had him on the mat. So there's no idea of Calvin Kattar being like a really good jiu-jitsu guy. So Aljo, just a lack of finishing potential. Either way, let's have him fight Volkanovski. I want them to make that fight. Tune up for both guys. Tune up for Volk. Let's make that fight. Volk versus Aljo. Let's see how the bantamweight skill can do against Volkanovski and those pillow hands. If Volk can eat those pillow punches, I don't know. It's still a question to me. Can he take the pillow hands of Aljo? Jiri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. For Rakic, I don't think there was one. He looked really good in this fight. Honestly, it was the best he's ever looked. His striking seems to have improved. His speed is pretty decent, but even though his striking looks decent, it's still very basic. Not that can't work at the highest level, but there's a guy like Jan Blachowicz who has the basics mastered, but he still is operating at a much higher level than Alexander Rakic. Rakic just looks kind of clean. He has decent technique, but he kind of just spams a 1-2. His leg kicks, although they're great, they're not Alex Pereira level. I don't think anyone was saying that, though. I mean, what are we going to say for Rakic? What's changed? I just think that he ran into a guy like Jiri Prochazka who had the right level of power, the right level of chin, the right level of autism to be able to make it happen. The right level of ghost, the right holy ghost on his side that wills him to victory. That exists. If there was any doubt, right? People may have said, oh, where's that holy ghost this time against Alex Pereira? That's Mark Goddard that's fucking it up. All right? It was still in play. Jiri still may have been able to win. Well, now we know there's no doubt about it. If Jiri doesn't get KO'd stiff, he's probably going to win every single fight. But there's one worry that I have with Jiri, and that is, even though he was able to make it work, and in the second round he had some snap to his punches, obviously, he was tagging Alexander Rakic with big shots, he went out there throwing lazy jabs and lazy leg kicks and lazy teeps. It looked like he was throwing change-ups, just trying to throw as slow as possible. And I just don't understand the method to that madness. I don't get it. I'd love to ask him about it, but I'm worried he would just give me some hippy-dippy bullshit. You must feel where you flow, right? You must think in your hands before you put power on your shots. So yeah, big Jiri Prochazka. He's sloppy, but he has one of the best chins ever. We're going to have to start saying that. One of the most unbreakable wills ever. And on top of that, Jiri Prochazka kind of dissing Alexander Rakic after this fight, right? I mean, he was being asked about Alexander Rakic's power, and he said he's strong, but he had nothing but thud. Jiri Prochazka said Rakic has nothing but thud. And actually, it's kind of true. Rakic, he said, was throwing everything into his shots. He was trying to muscle his way through his punches, and that's just not the best way to generate power. You have to flow with it. You have to feel it, man. All right? Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. This is pretty big. This is a big one. Big narrative shift. I thought this was going to be an execution. I thought this was going to be a one-round, few minutes at most fight where Bo Nickal just runs through Cody, submits him within the first grappling exchange, or knocks him out. But even on the feet, there were some hairy moments. And it was stinky on the ground. It was like a Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Wonderboy Thompson's type of performance, where it was stinky for the first 8 minutes and the submission kind of saved it. But either way, this wasn't Wonderboy Thompson. This is Cody Brundage, the biggest bum on the roster. Not literally the biggest bum on the roster, but he's a can. And I just think that for Bo, that hype that he was getting, he was supposed to do better against a can than this. He didn't live up to it. Not at all. And I went from saying things like, yeah, I think he might be able to beat guys like Roman Dolidze right now, who's kind of shit on the feet. Yeah, he's good on the ground, but he won't be able to grapple with Bo. To, if there's hairy moments with Cody Brundage, I don't know about the other guys. They could actually outstrike Bo, right? Maybe he's not going to just finish everyone in his path that easily. He got the finish, what can I say? But I don't know, there was something about it. It was way too slow for my liking. I think he should have beat him up worse in the first round, to be honest. Not a lot of ground and pound. Didn't look that great on the feet either with his defense. His defense was him just kind of like jolting back all the way rather than having good head movement or moving his feet. He was just kind of ducking down as fast as he possibly could while jolting back at the same time. Really didn't look that great. And now he's calling out Anthony Hernandez. There's no way this guy's beating Anthony Hernandez right now. All right, Roman Kopylov is a big if. Roman Kopylov's got better takedown defense than Cody Brundage. And Roman Kopylov's 10 times better than Cody Brundage on the feet. So, yeah, for Bo, you're going to have to give him a slow roll. Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. My goodness, this pissed me off. Listen, I know that everyone loves Charles, and I do too, but we got to be hard on him. We got to say it how it is. No bullshitting around. Charles Oliveira, he's timid against these guys. I don't like it. But we're going to have to start admitting it. And people were saying, dude, come on, man. Time to admit he was 1% of himself. When he knocked out Beneil Dariush, I guess not. That was 100% Charles, the best he ever was. Listen, you guys are just going to get the constant Charles Oliveira glaze session everywhere else. So you may as well hear it. You may as well hear the tough love. All right? You'll get that glaze session everywhere else. Let's be honest. Charles Oliveira shit his pants. All right? Let's be real. I don't want to hear it. On any other channel, you're going to hear the Oliveira glaze session. You're going to hear the pity party. He was so close. He almost won. Dude, if only he had thrown one of those clinch knees again. Yeah, we needed another clinch knee, right? Another little teep to the body. We needed another Hail Mary submission from this guy. No. Charles Oliveira didn't throw his right hand. He didn't throw his hooks. He wasn't letting his hands go because he was shitting his pants. And it's about time we admit that he's no longer a nightmare matchup for these wrestlers. Because that's what we were saying going into the Makhachev fight. He lost. Hey, he was only 1% of himself. Just an off night, right? No. Charles Oliveira is the opposite of a nightmare matchup for these guys. He's not the, oh, you can't go to the ground with him. It's a shark-infested water or a alligator-infested lake. Nope. You can go to the ground with him. He might get close to a submission, but if you can wrestle, you can maybe get out of it, and you're not going to tap. And I know not everyone can do it. This is not me saying everyone that wrestles is going to be able to do it. No, but Arman Tsarukyan, the elite wrestlers in this division that can mix it up are going to be able to. I'm talking about a guy like Mateusz Rebecki, possibly. Okay? Yeah, a little jiu-jitsu Beneil Dariush might not be able to, but that's because his style is jiu-jitsu. Arman Tsarukyan, by the way, first guy to beat the shit out of Charles on the ground since Paul Felder. Right? We can't even hide behind the old, well, he went to a stalemate with Makhachev, so I guess he's on the same level. Makhachev needed a knockdown to really be able to pull ahead in the grappling to get the submission. It was a stalemate. They're even. I actually think Arman Tsarukyan's a better grappler. I think that Makhachev's a better grappler. Okay? Yes, he's still one of the best on the planet. He's still a phenomenal guy when it comes to the jiu-jitsu. But against these wrestlers, it's going to be no cigar every time. All right? Like, I've had enough of the whole pity party. All right? He needs tough love. He needs someone to say it how it is. You're shitting your pants out there. You're looking like a scaredy cat. Maybe 5 more right hands and 5 more hooks per round, and you would have been able to KO this man. Joaquim Silva did better. Joaquim Silva did better on the feet. It wasn't even the grappling for the most part. Outside of the second round, the grappling was close. And I don't want to hear the bullshit. Dude, relax. Charles basically won the fucking fight. No, he didn't. It would have been a brutal robbery. It would have been one of the worst robberies ever if he got his hand raised. Okay? Charles Oliveira got his ass whooped on the feet. He was backing up. Are you kidding me? You got Arman Tsarukyan backing you up on the feet? Come on. Where's the lion that you're talking about? Move forward. Throw your right hand. What are you worried about? Getting taken down? You're pulling guillotines anyway. Very frustrating performance from this guy, man. Because I honestly think that he could have possibly won if he just gave himself more of a chance and just gritted down and walked forward. He was getting backed up by little pit-pat jabs. The brother style of wrestlers are too much. And if there was any talk about him being lightweight GOAT status, he's 3 steps back now. So, rough for the Oliveira fans, but we got to say it how it is. He didn't look great, and it was not because he looked old. It's not because he's washed. I think it's the same Charles. It's just he doesn't do well with the style. Okay? He just freezes up. He's like Curtis Blades in front of these guys. When Curtis Blades fights the big punchers, he freezes up. When Charles Oliveira fights a guy with a beard that has that accent and is a wrestler that can mix it up, he freezes up. All right? So I'll definitely pick against Charles in the future going up against these types of guys. If he fights a guy like Beneil again, or if he fights a guy like Gaethje or someone that has a jiu-jitsu style, I obviously pick Charles, but man, it's a bit of a nightmare matchup for him, right? I can't believe we're saying that, but jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, it's always going to struggle against boxing. I was going to say boxing, right? But actually, Arman Tsarukyan's got some wicked kicks. What was that kick that he threw? Was it a crescent kick, a crane kick? One of the most flexible, an axe kick. One of the most flexible kicks I've ever seen. Yeah, Arman Tsarukyan's not a boxer, but I guess the well-rounded wrestlers. And Arman Tsarukyan is as elite as it gets. All right, I think he proved that he was the better grappler. Yeah, he almost got put in some submissions, but hey, he actually was able to maintain top position, and he was able to beat Charles up badly in the second. It was getting nasty there, right? It was getting kind of nasty, so I wish Arman good luck for his title fight. I hope Islam Makhachev smokes him. And for Charles Oliveira, although I'm a bigger fan of him than I am Arman, he didn't deserve that win. He didn't go for it, all right? Clenched knees and little body kicks and little teeps, that was all he had on the feet. I saw like maybe 2 or 3 right hands. I can count the punches on one hand that this man threw. It's ridiculous, man. Where are the uppercuts? Where are the hooks? Where are the right hands? We needed those. This was not the same guy that fought Kevin Lee. Now, Kevin Lee was a grappler that can mix it up, but I guess he's just not elite, right? Arman Tsarukyan's elite. Against the elite wrestlers that can mix it up, Charles is not a nightmare matchup. But even against Kevin Lee, to be fair, Kevin Lee, he wasn't a bum at the time. He was running at him, dude. Legitimately running at him. Just tossing the kitchen sink at him, right? Fighting without a care in the world. I think that the style got in his head, actually. It's not that Charles just can't do it. He just freezes up. It's a mental thing. That's kind of what I'm boiling it down to. At this point, it's a mental thing. I think Islam Makhachev kind of fucked him up, right? And he says it was 1% of him, right? No, that was him. And I think that's why it fucks him up. Actually, it wasn't him. He was being really patient in that fight, too. And people were saying things like, man, we need patient Charles. We need him to be even more patient. He was too aggressive against Islam because he got caught coming in. Yeah, but he got caught coming in throwing some lazy flying knee. He didn't get caught coming in throwing a right hand. And it's not even like Arman is at the same level of striking as Islam Makhachev. He's not. He doesn't even have the same power. He doesn't have the same defense. Again, Joaquim Silva was able to rock this man. He was able to make it work at one point. But not Charles. So, gotta throw your hands. And I'm going to pick against him if he fights another guy like this. If he fights Rebecki, if Rebecki keeps winning, I'd pick Rebecki. If he fights Mateusz Gamrot, before I would say, yeah, Mateusz has no chance. He can't submit a fly. He can't hurt anyone on the ground. And he's not that dangerous. He gets dropped in every fight. Maybe Charles wouldn't even throw his punches against Mateusz Gamrot. Maybe Gamrot could just stay out of submissions and win on control and little jabs moving forward. I'm actually considering a Mateusz Gamrot win over Charles Oliveira based on the style. All right? I wouldn't pick him, but I might. I might actually pick him. Anyway, let's get on to the next one. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway. Anyone got any jam? Any butter? Because Justin Gaethje's toast, okay? Now, listen, all jokes aside, I love Justin Gaethje, and it was tough to see him get KO'd. I know I was calling him a schmuck in the build-up to this fight, but he gives me that energy, and I think it's honestly off to the mines. I think it's time for a pat on the head. I think it's time for this guy to chill. So, Justin Gaethje, he gave us tremendous moments, but I don't want to see this guy get flatlined again. And yes, you could say, well, dude, what are you saying? I'm saying he should retire, all right? I think that's it for Gaethje. Because think about it like this, all right? We've talked about this on the channel. Justin Gaethje has taken a shitload of damage, and he's even said before that Fiziev fight, coming off of the Charles Oliveira loss, which was a rough one too, he took a lot of damage in that, he said he was going to retire if he wasn't going to get the belt. He said, the next time I lose, I'm out. I'm in here to win belts. He doesn't even have the BMF belt, okay? What are you going to do? You're going to feed him to a grappler? I don't think so. I don't think that's a great idea. I think the UFC, if Gaethje wants to return, they'd be looking to book him against another chaotic striker. And I think it's just too risky for this guy to continue his career. Now, do I think he's going to retire? No. I think he has another couple of big fights in him, but I think he'll lose. I think the damage that he took in that Max Holloway loss, I know he didn't get Tony Ferguson for the majority of the fight, but he almost got finished in the beginning of the 5th round, which was a fuckload of damage in and of itself. He got his ass whooped for 3 rounds before the 4th, so that's a lot of damage. That's like a 3-rounder of a beating. And then he got flatline KO'd at the end of it. And combine that with all the wars this guy's had. Justin Gaethje, get your jam out, get your butter. It's time to make some toast because you're toast. I wish him the best of luck. And that's it. I think that's it. I'm sorry, guys. I know you may not want to hear that, but it's the case. Again, yes, he can return and give us a great show, but he's never going to be a champ. All right? Unfortunately, it is what it is. He's probably not going to get the BMF belt again. What does he need to win for? Okay? Does he want to risk getting flatline KO'd? I don't think so. Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. What is the narrative shift for Max? The narrative shift for Max is he's not a pipsqueak at 155. The pillow hands accusation is totally false. He definitely got past the pillow hands thing. He's no longer a guy that we're going to consider pillow-handed. He's got Polynesian power now. Max Holloway went from pillow hands to Polynesian power. If he sits down on those shots, I've seen it enough to where I know, all right, Max has taken the sting off of these shots going for volume. But when he really needs to, he can hit you hard. And he's looking amazing at 155. Max Holloway looks like a big lightweight. And in my opinion, he's the best lightweight striker that there is. Another narrative shift is that these featherweights, when they move up, are always going to have that skill and speed advantage, in my opinion. Unless it's against the odd ones like Islam Makhachev. There's a couple of those guys out there where, you know, it's going to be hard to beat him. But for the most part, against the strikers, Holloway, I think he'll prevail. Right? People used to say back in the day that I was crazy for thinking Volk could beat a guy like Gaethje or Volk could beat a guy like Poirier. I don't think so. All right? Now, I know it's a stylistic matchup thing, but either way, Max Holloway, he's looking like the best striker at 155. No one's ever beat Justin Gaethje on the feet and just stood with him, which is Gaethje's world. No one's ever beat him and made it look that clean in a striking performance. All right? It was a masterclass for at least 3 rounds. The 5th round, masterclass as well, so I should say 4, because we basically got 5 rounds, let's be honest. The only round he really went to war with Gaethje in it was the 4th, and that's it. Holloway's chin holds up. He did get dropped for the first time, so there's that. We know Holloway can be dropped, even if it wasn't like a bad concussive knockdown, more of a flash knockdown, but still it was a knockdown. He's looking like the best striker in the world at 55, whereas I thought this guy was a lamb being led to the slaughter when this fight was first announced. Of course, as it got closer, I started to give him more of a chance, but yeah, now Holloway goes from the forever destined to fight, the lesser stars in the 145-pound weight class to the world being his oyster and being the biggest star outside of a champion at 155 pounds. Max Holloway's the new money fight on the block. I don't know if that was the case before this fight was announced. I think that, listen, Holloway was always a big star, but let's be honest, he was kind of getting overshadowed by Gaethje and Poirier and even Volk. Volk was starting to climb up the ranks as far as star power is concerned. Holloway's back at the top spot. He's the new money fight in that division. And at 145, look at Ilia Topuria. A couple months ago saying, I don't want to fight Max. This guy is my last opponent, sloppy seconds. Now he's calling for it. Now he wants him in Spain. Now he's being all buddy-buddy with him. So Holloway, the pillow hands accusation is just not going to check out anymore. There's a lot of narrative changes for Max. And if anyone thought that he wasn't in his prime anymore and that he had an early prime, they were wrong too. Zhang Weili and Yan Xiaonan. Let's get on to this one. Man, just incredible from Zhang Weili. Listen, let's be honest, there's no narrative shift. She did get dropped a lot in this fight, though, so I guess maybe we're going to have to start thinking about her chin in predictions and saying things like, well, the chin isn't always going to hold up. It's not that amazing. But either way, good performance from Zhang. Anyway, let's get on to it. Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. The narrative shift for Alex Pereira, in my opinion, was pretty crazy. Think about it like this. Before this weekend, before the dominant performance that he had over Jamahal Hill, where he basically just looked great on the feet, was going to the body, going to the legs, looking kind of fast again. In my opinion, he looked faster than he did in his last couple of fights, and I think that is a testament to him finally coming into this weight class and it being his real weight class, meaning not in the sense that he's no longer cutting and he's healthy again. No, he's just not cutting as much, but he's still cutting a lot of weight. This is his legit weight class like any other person that cuts a lot of weight. He's looking like he's speedy again. His chin is holding up. His powers is even getting greater now that he's fully adjusted to 205. Whereas when he first came up, he just kind of had some extra fat on him. He's got more muscle on him now. That left hook is probably even harder now. Before this weekend, I wasn't considering him as a guy that has potential to become the first UFC triple champ, or I should say the first guy to hold a belt in 3 different weight classes, not simultaneously because he doesn't have the middleweight belt anymore, but he has a chance, right? He got into the UFC in 2021, and he's just speed running shit. He's almost cleared out the light heavyweight division, and I know that might be controversial, but it's true. Who else is there? He's already beat Jiri. He's already beat Blachowicz. He's already beat Jamahal Hill. That's the big 3 right there. There's only one more guy left, and that's Magomed Ankalaev. You take out the core 4, who else is there? Khalil Roundtree ranked number 8? Man, give me a fucking break. All right? What are we going to do? Anthony Smith, Vitor Petrino? No. Alex Pereira's like 36, 37. I think he's 36 years old. One more win, this guy should move up and fight Tom Aspinall, who's the real champ of the heavyweight division. And I'm giving him a chance. Okay? Now that I see this dude looking bigger than ever, not just kind of puffed up and bloated at 205, he's looking massive. He's cutting down from like 240 pounds. I think he can fight Tom Aspinall at like damn near 250. If Aspinall wants to test it, if he wants to test the stand-up with this guy, which I'm worried he might, because I have a feeling that Tom Aspinall likes to go out there and throw bombs. He could knock out Alex Pereira 100%. He has another type of power as well, but it's a 50-50 fight with Alex Pereira on the feet, given his kickboxing credentials, given his UFC credentials at this point. How great of a striker is he? Much better than anyone that Tom Aspinall's faced. I guarantee you he would shit all over Volkov. He's better than Pavlovich. I know you guys hype up Pavlovich, and I did too. Pavlovich is plotty compared to Alex Pereira. If he can land his left hook, Pereira can land his. And I don't know if Aspinall's eating it. So I'm actually starting to consider him as someone that has potential to become a triple champ. I wouldn't pick him against Aspinall, but still, he's probably going to have the ability to move up very soon. And he's a top 15 fighter of all time, in my opinion, right now. One more win over Magomed, Sure, I'll put him above Khabib. I know that everyone's saying he's better than Khabib now. He's better than Khabib now. One more, and I'll say, yeah, he is. Fair enough. Even with the L. Even with the L to Izzy, because they're still 1-1. For Jamahal Hill, there's not a big narrative shift, okay? I mean, I guess it's pick up the pickaxe and head out to the mines with Joe Pyfer and the boys and Brendan Allen, right? Because that's where he's headed. But you can't really take that much away from it. His defense, for some people, was kind of looked at as being better than the other guys, the other top strikers in that division. But upon rewatching his fights, I just didn't see that, right? I saw sloppy Mal Hill rather than the more technical of the bunch. And I think that's just because people used to compare him to Jiri a lot, because those were the two strikers of the division. And compared to Jiri, most people look pretty clean on the feet. But compared to Pereira, Jamahal Hill makes a lot of mistakes, okay? He just simply got shown levels in this fight, and his defense wasn't on point, all right? And that speed advantage that some people thought he was going to have, I didn't see it. I think he looked slower than Alex Pereira. Maybe that was the injury. That's possible, but listen, man, I don't think it was the end. I think it may have been a little bit of it, but he looked a lot slower than Pereira. So Jamahal Hill was not able to salt his way through the left hook and just make it happen. Because some people were saying, listen, he may not be better than Alex as a striker, but he's got the salt, and he's got the dense head. He's got the anger and rage. Maybe he'll be able to just fucking power through it. He didn't. So Alex Pereira is Thanos right now in the upper weight classes, and I don't think any of these guys touch him on the feet. Before there were questions, there's no more questions. He's answered them all. That's the narrative shift. No more questions at 205. Outside of the grappling, we'll see if Magomed can mix it up. And I think he leg kicks the shit out of Magomed Ankalaev. And we saw what happened when Magomed fought Jan Blachowicz. Didn't look so great, did it? So, yeah. The first ever triple champ, there's potential. There's a possibility. I wasn't going to say that before this weekend. Now we're talking about it. If Aspinall doesn't shoot a takedown, that is. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. And also, I think he fucks up Cyril Gane. I think he beats all the other strikers. The only two guys that I think beat this guy at heavyweight, all right, are John Jones and Tom Aspinall, and that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.